So, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, Today we have Muhammad Inam Khairuddin Anwar, and he will show his presentation about democracy in action, the dynamic of Indonesian election. And the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, as the moderator tell, my name is Muhammad Inam Khairuddin Anwar. You can call me Zidan. So today I will tell you an information about the democracy in action, the dynamics of Indonesian election. First thing first, let's talk about Indonesia at glance. Indonesia is a diverse and vibrant country located in Southeast Asia, known for its unique geography, large population. So, archipelago. Indonesia is the world's largest archipelago, comprising more than 7,000 islands, with the five biggest is Java, Kalimantan or Borneo, Sulawesi, and Papua. Indonesia is also have a 278.3 million population in 2022. Indonesia also holds the status of world's third largest democracy in the world. Okay. So let's move on. The second is the role of the first election in 1990. The transition from authoritarian rule to the democracy in Indonesia. This transition began in the late 1990s and culminated in the first democratic election in 1999. So, the end of President Suharto's New Order regime. President Suharto's New Order regime, which began in 1967 and ended in 1998, was characterized by centralized power, repression of political opposition, and limited civil liberties. So, Suharto's rule was marked by political censorship, human rights abuses, and corruption. Despite promoting economic stability and growth, it also compromised political freedoms and social justice. The next is the first democratic election in 1999. So the election involved the selection of members of the People's Consultative Assembly or MPR, including the president and vice president. The president was the Abdurrahman Wahid, known as Gus Dur. The vice president is Megawati Soekarno Putri. The election of Gus Dur as president marked the beginning of Indonesia's democratic era, characterized by multi-party elections, a free press, and increased civil liberties. So let's move on to the next topic. 3. Challenges. Indonesian democracy has made significant progress since the fall of the authoritarian Suharto regime in 1998, but it still faces several challenges that affect its democratic institution and processes. So, corruption. Corruption can undermine the rule of law, erode public trust in institutions, and hinder economic development. Indonesia also has do the effort to address corruption. The first is Anti-Corruption Commission or KPK. Okay. KPK has a task of investigating and elaborating the corruption. This also mengembalikan harta yang telah dicuri dari rakyat, like that. The second is legal reforms. Indonesia has introduced legal reforms, including the establishment of specialized anti-corruption courts and the passing of anti-money laundering laws. The third is civil society and media. Civil society and media play a crucial role in exposing corruption and advocating for transparency and accountability. The second challenges is political polarization. Political polarization in Indonesia has increased in recent years, leading to a more divisive political climate. This polarization is often along religious, ethnic, and ideological lines and can hamper effective governance and social cohesion. There is a solution that I can offer to you for addressing political polarization. The first in interfaith dialogue. Promoting interfaith dialogue and tolerance to reduce religious polarization. The second is education and civic engagement. Engaging media literacy to help citizens critically access information and reduce the spread of misinformation. Also, encouraging civic education and engagement to foster a sense of citizenship and shared values. The third is inclusive policies. Implementing inclusive policies that address the needs of diverse communities and reduce disparities. The last is political reconciliation. Encouraging political leaders to engage in dialogue and find common ground for the sake of national unity. So we end in the conclusion that Indonesia, the world's third largest democracy, transitioned from authoritarian rule to democracy in the late 1990s. Its electoral system includes presidential and legislative elections with simultaneous voting. The 2019 general election highlighted transparency, but challenges include corruption and political polarization. So that's it. Do you have any question?
What do you think of Aviva? Is it efficient or not?
If we took back in the first of the Anti-Corruption Commission era, it's very effective because they bekerja sama dengan presiden dan beberapa lembaga yang lain akan langsung liberate the victim, the pelaku of the corruption itself, and has a clear or vivid hukuman like that. So, but if we look back in beberapa waktu belakangan, there's a disadvantage or kekurangan dari Anti-Corruption Commission ini because in the Anti-Corruption Commission, there's also people that doing corruption itself. It is the disadvantage right now.
I want to ask for the slide where Suharto. Yeah. I just know that he always got like menyebabkan kerugian di dalam Indonesia, right? Is he ever keuntungan ke Indonesia?
Of course, like I said, despite of marked by political censorship, human rights abuses, and corruption, Suharto's era, it also compromised political freedom, social justice, economic stability, and growth. There is no, tidak ada kejahatan di era Pak Suharto, hanya sedikit ya. Because maybe you're familiar with Petrus. Yeah. That's it. Okay. That's it from King. Thank you so much for your attention. That's it for me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So that's the presentation from Zidane. And thank you very much for your attention and goodbye.
Oke, selesai. Yang lain belum loh.